3 armed security guards pounding on my door at 6 a.m. was not how I imagined starting my vacation. Without warning, they shoved eviction papers into my face. "You have 48 hours to vacate this property," the tallest one growled, voice cold and unforgiving. Their sidearms glinted in the early light. I stood there, stunned, clutching my coffee mug as the reality sank in. I inherited my grandfather's cabin at Pinewood Lake just 3 months ago, memories flooding back of summers spent fishing, playing cards, and listening to stories by the fire. Now, those memories felt like they were slipping away. The men shoved past me, leaving the papers on the porch. "Take it up with Ms. Clark," the tallest said, voice dismissive as they climbed into a sleek white SUV emblazoned with the Pinewood Lake Community Association logo. They drove off, leaving me in silence, my mind racing. "Who the hell are you?" I demanded, voice trembling with shock. The quiet of the lake was shattered. I looked down at the eviction notice, feeling a mixture of anger and confusion. The legal jargon was a blur, but the message was clear. I was being forced out. I stormed to the dock, trying to process what just happened. The weathered wooden planks felt familiar under my feet, anchoring me to the past. My grandfather's old rowboat was still covered with a tarp, the lake shimmering in the morning sun. This was my sanctuary, and now it was under threat. As I stared at the water, a rough voice interrupted my thoughts. An elderly man approached from the neighboring property, eyes sharp but kind. "You must be George's grandson," he said, extending a weathered hand. "Shanley Maddox." I shook it, still trying to catch my breath. "I'm trying to understand what's happening. I just got these eviction papers." Shanley's face darkened. "That's Doris Clark. She's been running this place for years. She's trying to push out the original owners, and she's got her sights set on this entire lake. She's been scheming for a while." I looked back at the papers. "But this property has been in my family for over 50 years. My grandfather fought to keep it. How can they just take it?" He lowered his voice. "They're claiming your land encroaches on HOA land. But that's a lie. I've known your grandfather. He kept detailed records. There's something fishy. Here." I remembered the folder I found hidden in the old cabin, a yellowed survey from 1963 property deeds and a journal filled with notes. As I pulled out the documents, my suspicion grew. The survey showed the land extended all the way to the lake, including the shoreline, more than what the HOA claimed. "Doris is after the water," Shanley said grimly. "She's been renting out parts of the dock to tourists, making thousands while your family's legacy is about to be erased." My stomach clenched. "And that development she's planning? It's massive. She's building condos, a marina right where my dock sits. She wants total control of the water access." That's when I saw the truth in Shanley's eyes. This isn't just about property lines, it's about greed, power, and a scheme to wipe out the old community for profit. I clenched my fists. I wasn't going down without a fight. Absolutely. Here's the continuation, starting right from the moment after the previous chapter's ending, diving straight into the action with suspense, dialogue, twists, and powerful moments. I stared at the eviction notice, my mind racing. The guards had left, but the weight of what just happened pressed down like a storm about to break. I clenched my fists, feeling the blood pounding in my ears. They were trying to take everything, the cabin, the land, my grandfather's legacy. And they had the nerve to do it so coldly, so blatantly. Suddenly, the sharp crack of footsteps snapped me back. Shanley Maddox was beside me, eyes blazing. "They're not playing fair," he said low. "But we've got something they don't. Your grandfather's old records. That survey from '63? It's their worst nightmare." I looked at him, eyes narrowing. "What do you mean?" He pulled a worn, yellowed document from his coat. "This shows your grandfather's property extended all the way to the lake, including the shoreline. The HOA's map? It's a lie. They're trying to claim you're on their land, but the truth is buried in these papers." I grabbed the survey, heart pounding. The lines on the old map looked different, more accurate. It showed the cabin's foundation, the dock, the shoreline, all in the family's name. As I unfolded the journal, I saw his meticulous handwriting. Notes about boundary disputes, threats from Doris Clark. My grandfather had fought her before, and now it was my turn. They're renting out the dock, Shanley went on, voice low, making a killing from tourists while they push you out. And that condo project? It's a cover-up for something bigger. They're trying to control this entire lake. My blood ran cold. The pieces clicked into place. Doris wasn't just after my land. She wanted total water rights, total control. That's why she'd rigged the system, falsified documents, and now was trying to wipe me out before I could fight back. But I wasn't helpless. I had the records, proof, and I had Shanley, who knew the lake and the law better than anyone. They had crossed a line. This wasn't just an eviction. It was theft, manipulation, and a conspiracy that threatened everything I cared about. And I was going to expose them no matter what it took, because this wasn't just about property anymore. It was about standing up for what's right. And I was done standing down. Certainly. Here's the third chapter, starting right from the climax of the previous scene, with no formal heading, straight into intense action, suspense, dialogue, twists, and a powerful, unforgettable ending. The room went silent as everyone stared at the screen. Doris's face drained of color when the video played, her instructing workers to break into my cabin to plant false violations to take everything she could. Her voice, sharp and commanding, echoed through the room. Get rid of him. We need that land for the marina. The stunned room erupted into whispers. Some homeowners looked guilty, others angry. Doris's eyes flicked wildly as she desperately tried to regain control. But her composure was crumbling. I stepped forward, voice steady, despite the adrenaline pounding through my veins. This isn't just about land boundaries or property lines. It's about theft, corruption, and outright criminality. I slammed a folder onto the table. Proof after proof, the falsified surveys, the embezzled HOA funds, the illegal entry, and now her own words on tape. Your greed has blinded you, I said, voice cutting through the chaos. You've been lying, cheating, and destroying lives for years. I've got everything on record, your schemes, your lies, your threats, and I'm not stopping until justice is done. Doris's face twisted into a sneer. You think you can threaten me? Who do you think you are? I own this community. Not anymore, a new voice interrupted. It was Shanley, standing tall, voice ringing out. We've had enough. Doris, your reign ends tonight. And then the impossible happened. The room's lights flickered and a loud alarm blared from the building's security system. Every screen flashed with the live footage. More evidence. Of her illegal activities, her personal calls, her meetings with developers plotting the future of the lake. Suddenly, the door burst open. 6 sheriff deputies stormed in, guns drawn, badges flashing. This is a warrant, one barked. Doris Clark, you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and theft. Doris's eyes widened in shock, her carefully crafted empire crumbling in seconds. She tried to protest, but the officers already had her in cuffs, reading her rights. The room erupted into chaos, but I felt a strange calm. I looked at the crowd, neighbors, friends, people I'd never even spoken to before, all watching the fall of a tyrant. As the deputies led her away, Doris's final words echoed, bitter and defeated. This isn't over. You'll regret this. But I knew the truth. Her empire was built on lies, and now, finally, it was collapsing. I turned to Shanley, who nodded solemnly. Your grandfather's fight was never just about property. It was about justice. And tonight, we won. I looked out the window at the lake shimmering under the moonlight. The cabin, the dock, my family's legacy, all protected. The community, finally free from her grip. This wasn't just the end. It was the beginning of something new, something stronger, because the real power wasn't in land or money. It was in truth, and that truth had just been set free, and no one could ever take that away.